Hello, welcome to the Business of Apps podcast. How do you know if your app marketing is actually driving growth or just generating activity? In this episode, we speak with Dane Buchanan, Global Chief Data and Analytics Officer at M+C Saatchi Performance, about one of the most misunderstood topics in app growth: measurement. Dane explains why clicks and impressions don't tell the full story, why incrementality matters more than correlation, and how brands often underestimate their real ROI by ignoring offline impact. He also shares a case study where better management revealed that media ROI was actually 3 times higher than previously reported, changing the company's investment strategy entirely. Without further ado, here's a conversation with Dane Buchanan, Global Chief Data and Analytics Officer at M+C Saatchi Performance.
Hi, I'm David Murphy at Business of Apps, and I'm talking today with Dane Buchanan, who is Chief Data and Analytics Officer at M+C Saatchi Performance. Dane, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Great to be here, David. Thanks for having me.
No, it's our pleasure. So I always like to kick off with a quick sort of 2-minute intro to the company, if you could, please. Doesn't have to be 2 minutes, whatever feels right to you.
Sure, I'll try and keep it as short as possible. So M+C Saatchi Performance, we're obviously part of the broader M+C Saatchi group. Our agency started out in mobile back in 2006, so actually this year is 20 years since we were founded. But we've evolved quite a lot, like the industry has, over the last 20 years, and we're now a full-service digital media agency. And the best way to describe it is, if you can buy it digitally, we buy, optimize and measure it.
Excellent. So I know we're going to talk about that key word today, measurement. Let's kick off then by asking, what are the key issues around accurately measuring the effectiveness of media spend?
I guess there's a number of issues, and one is data, which is quite broad, but I think the biggest one is that brands tend to use what's easy. In digital media, that's digital attribution, or they just measure clicks and impressions. The issue with that is it doesn't truly show growth. And in order to understand what's actually driving your business, you need to focus on incrementality. And you can't just rely on correlations. You need to understand if media is driving real world business impact.
Excellent. So that word incrementality, just for anyone that's not familiar with it as a concept, just explain what you mean by it.
I guess in one line, it's what wouldn't have happened without the media. So it's what your media is actually driving. That's the key element of incrementality. And you know, I think most marketers would say that they don't want to drive people who are going to buy anyway. They want to drive people who weren't going to buy.
And I guess one of the reasons why maybe it's not always adopted is because it doesn't sound like the easiest thing in the world to measure. If you run a campaign and it did, sales increased by 10%, you'd like to say all of that was down to the campaign. But it sounds like with incrementality, you're able to say, well, actually, no, because some of those sales would have happened anyway.
Definitely, and like I guess even things like a big time in sort of digital world, Black Friday, for retailers, is a big time of year, and I think it's okay to be grown up about it and say actually Black Friday itself has an impact on sales, but so does media. If we know what that amount is, then we can plan for it and optimize it. We can tell you how much media you should have to amplify that big event in your year. And that goes for any event, Christmas, Easter, etc. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, so just going back to the issues you talked about, what problems do those issues create?
Well, I guess in terms of the biggest issue when you have multiple measurement approaches is silos. So you have attribution, you have media mix modeling, you have incrementality testing, and these can all be run and owned by different teams, have different sources of truth. And I guess the key thing for brands and marketers is that they struggle to align across these different methods. And it's my belief that making decisions around media should be easy. You shouldn't have to spend your time interpreting the output. marketers and brands should spend their time focusing on what it's actually doing for them, and what it's growing for them.
So let's talk a little bit about your solution to these problems. What is it and how does it work?
Sure. Well, I guess at M+C Saatchi, like, measurement is core to what we do, and it's always been since we began in 2006. But I guess when Apple had app tracking transparency, and then Google had that will they won't they saga, we had to develop something in an answer to that. So we had developed an in-house solution for our clients. But when we saw where the industry was going, we felt that we should open this up as a product for both our clients and clients we don't work with from a media perspective. And this is M+C Saatchi OneView. And essentially this unifies media mix modeling, attribution and incrementality testing into one platform, giving clients a single, clear, actionable view on their media, saying what's working, why it's working, and more importantly, what they should do next and what action they should take.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned app tracking transparency there. Leads me to ask, how does this all tie into data privacy?
Well, listen, I think that what we saw with these, I guess, big tech giants, let's say Apple and Google, and obviously in the EU we have GDPR, is that you can lose access to user level data quite quickly at the whim of a government or a tech company. And for businesses who are relying on that type of data for proving their ROI, it means that if it changes, their view of their media performance changes overnight. They don't have any benchmark. So for us, our solution is privacy by design. It's future proof. No matter what these companies do, no matter where privacy regulations go, our solution is built on aggregated data. So it is a golden thread throughout time for brands. If they measure their ROI today, in 5 years' time, no matter where privacy regulations can go, they can benchmark their performance against today's media performance. And that's really vital for marketers, because typically we have to fight for budget from CFOs, CEOs for our departments. And you don't want to be going to them going, by the way, you remember we measured that campaign last week and I said it was €2 or £2 ROI. It's now actually a £1.50 ROI. You lose credibility straight away. So we want to make sure that we keep marketers credible.
Now, I don't feel like I've done many interviews lately where AI hasn't been discussed. So I have to ask, is there an AI angle to OneView?
Yeah, there's definitely an AI angle. I think AI is everywhere. I would say that it's not just a label. And I'd say it helps in a number of ways. One, it helps us with the build of the models. So when we're building these models up, one of our key things is speed. And AI allows us to move faster, build models faster, automate, but actually tweak the models faster. Still with human oversight. The other side is actually insights and insight generation. So generative AI, the likes of ChatGPT, etc. It's brilliant at giving out human-like insights. So we have a module within OneView that looks across all of your data, all of your views, and gives the user those insights back, telling them what to do, why this result is the way it is, and what they should be doing next. And on top of that, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to ask if my sort of understanding of AI is that it's constantly learning, refining, improving. Would that apply here as well?
Definitely, and constantly evolving. It's something where I would say 6 months ago, what we could do has changed to today. 2026 is going to be an amazing year, I think, for AI. I'm super excited at how we're going to use it, but also how it's going to evolve. And you always have to have your finger on the pulse in terms of how you should be using it and taking these new elements in. One of those key things for us is actually around development. We're able to test and add new features onto our platform at a speed that we couldn't have done 3 years ago, to be really honest. It's amazing.
Excellent. Just to wrap this up then, Dane, have you got any examples of brands that are using this platform and what it's done for their reporting?
Sure. So I'd say that it's, I think you mentioned the word reporting. I think it's an interesting word. So I'd say with OneView, it's a step above reporting for starters because it's a media strategy engine. It helps them make decisions. And for one brand in particular, they had both online and offline sales, but they were only valuing their media investment against online sales. You don't have to be a data scientist or an econometrician to understand that they're probably undervaluing their media investment. So when they implemented OneView, what they found was actually that media's ROI jumped by 3x. That was because they're now measuring the impact on offline sales, something they couldn't track through digital means. And this meant that they went from under-investing in media to confidently scaling up that investment. And they're using OneView now to protect those decisions and forecast what their media budget should do and can do before it goes live.
As you were saying earlier, I guess you've got visibility into how your campaigns are performing and credibility that when you go to the CFO and ask for more budget because it's working, that the figures actually stack up and they've got some merit.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess the thing is that it's okay if it's not working as well. You see that too. I wish everything was good all the time. We always want those good news stories. But if something isn't working, you want to know fast. And this helps you see that. And I guess from our side, the solution we've built, it's obviously built by data scientists and engineers, but it's shaped by media expertise. So it means you get this robust sort of statistical model that you can have faith in, but actually a commercial model that you can use and have those conversations with your CFO or your CEO.
Excellent. Well, Dane, it's been really interesting. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Cheers, David. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So that's it for this chat with Dane Buchanan from M+C Saatchi Performance, ladies and gents. As ever, I hope you've enjoyed it and we'll see you again very soon.
And that was the episode 259, Measuring Real-World Impact in App Marketing, featuring the App Talk interview with Dane Buchanan, Global Chief Data and Analytics Officer at M+C Saatchi Performance. To listen to more episodes, by now we have more than 250 to check out. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube podcasts. Just search for Business of Apps. You will find us easily. Remember, we release episodes on Mondays, so subscribe and you'll be able to get new episodes on your smartphone, tablet, or computer as soon as we release them. And please don't forget to leave us a review or comment on iTunes. It is highly appreciated. And all episodes will also be available on businessofapps.com. Thank you for listening. See you next week.